What is going on to all my Raised by Wolves fans out there, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot back again, breaking down the latest episode of Season 2 of HBO Max's Raised by Wolves. We're talking episode 7, which was titled Feeding, an episode in which we see the people feeding off of the tree. We get a confrontation between Mother and Number 7, who is now evolved. And we get the return of my favorite killer android. We're breaking it all down here in the spoiler review, but before we do so, make sure you're checking me out on all my other social media accounts. I love this community so much, and I want you to be a part of it. So if you love early movie reviews, TV reviews, live streams, well, come and join this community by subscribing and hitting that notification bell. As you can see on the screen now, if you enjoyed this spoiler review, well, make sure to give it a thumbs up, but also share this review to all the Raised by Wolves fans out there that you know that love this show just as much as we do. But more importantly, once you've seen the 7th episode, which means we got 1 episode left, let me know your pros and cons of the 7th episode. What were some of the deeper meanings you took from the episode? Favorite moments, least favorite moments, and of course, what do we hope to see in next week's finale? Let's talk about it all in the comments below. So just my brief thoughts before we break it all down and recap it. I've been saying it for weeks now. I feel like Season 2 is so much better than Season 1 in so many ways. Again, I respect what Season 1 had to offer, but if you just take episodes 5, 6, and now 7, this trilogy of this story that we've gotten so far, it has been fantastic to just take all in. Now, I don't love the 7th episode as much as I do 5, which is still my favorite episode of the season, and 6 was such a great follow-up, but this to me is a great setup for what I hope to be a great finale, from the biblical undertones that we'll break down in this episode that we got from episode 6 now into 7, from the conversations we have with Hunter and, Father, that scene with the creature and the baby feeding, we'll talk about that, and then Vrille coming back and having the conversation with Campion and that moment at the end there. It's just so much goodness in this episode. Again, I didn't love it because it didn't have all the horror elements as episode 5 and 6. It didn't have all the maybe more exciting action moments, but the setup, the seeds that were planted in this episode, I hope come to fruition for next week's finale. But again, I didn't love this episode, but I really enjoyed it. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. Are you all ready to break it down? Let's get into it as we open the episode with Paul bearing a special gift to the people, a new fruit from Sector 7 that has been tested is what he tells them, as we see that they are eating the fruit from the tree formerly known as Sue. As we cut back to the plan at hand for Marcus and Paul, they believe that this will change them back into believers. This will show them the light and they will rise up against Mother, and they believe that this is what Saul wants, so in return they're gonna get back Sue. Will they? I don't think so at this point, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Moving on, we are now looking for Tempest's baby. With the help of Father and the kids and some others, they're now on the hunt to find this creature, as we see that Hunter is now kind of configuring his android, and they're going to take the skin from the creature that they found from the sea, and they're going to use it to look and kind of camouflage itself to get underwater to find this creature that took her baby last week. As we see, the android is now brought back to the surface, and Campion is told to retrieve it, but now someone has taken this android, and is no other than the android that scared the hell out of me episode 5, and it's the return of Vrille, who is very integral in this episode, and she has a new face this time around. Holly warns them that they should not trust her because, and by all means, I am fully on Holly's side after what Vrille did in episode 7, but she's trying to convince them she's evil. We can't trust her. She's a murderer. And we all know Campion is there. He's like, no, we can trust her. And we know the soft spot that Campion has for Mother, for Father, and now Vrille. But it's just like, we really can't trust her. And I'm really kind of more leaning towards Holly at this point. But we'll obviously break down what happens as we move forward. But we get this conversation at hand as Mother discovers the tree. On her search for Paul and her once friend Sue and the escaped Marcus, Mother finds that Sue has now become the tree. And the question she has for it is, why did you listen to Saul? As we see Marcus and Paul go back to check on her, they see that her heartbeat is slowing down. And this is a very interesting moment here, as we see Marcus is starting to question, was this the right decision? Can we trust Saul? It's so interesting. I said it a couple weeks ago. Every single episode, we see once believers turn into non-believers, non-believers turn into believers, and it's so interesting to now see even Marcus, who has been the strongest believer in the season so far, he's starting to question the voice of Saul. Was it really Saul? Are we making the right decision? I love, again, the parallels, and I love the connections of each and every week. The believers, non-believers, I'm loving all the dichotomy that we're getting so far in the season. But going back into the episode here, I tell you what, these humans on this planet, they'll listen to anything you say, as we just see them, mothers now back at the camp on the base. They're taking the fruit, they're eating it, they're literally acting like it's crack. They're just like, give me the fruit, as they're running off with it. And we see at this point, the serpent is now screaming yet again, maybe trying to make a warning. There ain't no warning this time. It breaks out of its captive and is now on a hunt for that tree, or should I say Sue. As we go back to the tree, Paul and Marcus get a message from Sue, who is saying, help me. But it's a little too late as the tree begins to move. And we all know the serpent, number 7, loves to eat plants. And we see that it consumes the tree and now has kind of evolved to this new creature, which again kind of goes back to the trust. Their plan is now coming into place that we'll talk about here in a little bit. But Mother arrives, tries to attempt to scream with its deafening scream that we know is very deadly, but is stopped by the serpent, who has his own scream and is able to take out Mother. All the biblical connection between what we're getting with the serpent, what we're getting with the tree, the forbidden tree, and kind of tie that into the biblical stuff that we know from the Bible. Adam and Eve were told by God not to eat from this tree. We get a snake, a serpent, convincing him to eat from the tree. Connect that to the show. We hear Saul, or, in this case, a serpent, number 7, is now consuming the tree. And we're seeing these people eating from the tree, and almost tying that back to the Bible, the forbidden fruit, the first sin known to man. And now we're seeing the people eating from this tree that we have known from Mary. Again, the biblical connections and how all that kind of ties in, to me, is just very fascinating. Even not being like a super religious person, I love how the show is kind of tying in a religious angle, how it connects to the forbidden tree, eating from the tree, and what can happen to the people. Well, I think it's pretty apparent. De-evolution, becoming creatures, the first original sin, it's starting to repeat itself. I'm loving that stuff there. Let me know what you all think about that. But going back to the episode, we have this conversation between Hunter and Father, who Hunter's android, which I thought was hilarious when he's fixing the leg, and Father's like, well, the relic that you gave up for this android, you didn't have to maintenance your relic. And you see the android, the headless android reminds me so much of Andy Muschietti's It, Chapter 1, with that headless boy walking down the stairs, but he flicks off Father. I thought that was funny. But what I loved in this scene, and I'm not the biggest Hunter fan, I think the character is just kind of like maneuvering in the season, doesn't really have that much to do, but I love that he's the audience in this, member, as he's telling Father everything we have been saying these last few weeks. He's talking about the obsession that Father has with grandmother. We talk about Campion crushing over this killer android. I'm like, listen, I might not be the biggest Hunter fan, but he's speaking truth in this moment. I love that kind of, again, the audience, him being us in that moment was something I enjoy. But getting back to it, as they get closer to the destination, it appears that an energy storm is coming, or better yet, the serpent is coming, and we're going to get into that in a second. But we get the truth here, and we trust Vrille if she can be useful. Will they arrive to their destination? And Tempest comes across this pile. She doesn't want to step any further because she thinks it's his baby, but it's just a false alarm. It's just a creature. But we're going to get into Tempest and her coming across her baby here in a little bit. But in this next scene, we see Father and Campion talking about what they should do with Vrille. She feels threatened. She runs off. She escapes. At this point, the serpent's gotten closer. It yells out. We see that it knocks out Father, and we're under the assumption, what happened to Vrille? Well, she's okay. She's in the ship as Campion kind of comes in. And I like this moment because, again, it kind of shows you the complete opposite of Paul. We know he doesn't trust androids. He doesn't trust Mother. But then, compare that to Campion, who truly believes in the androids, that they have a heart. He tells Father all the time, you should care about your happiness. You're not just a servant. You're not just an android. You have emotions. He says the same thing to Vrille at this moment as he tells her, you have opinions. You matter. You have a soul. And again, Campion, he makes some decisions that frustrates me sometimes, but I love his human nature and how he believes in the androids and wants them to coexist. I love that aspect about the character, but kind of moving on to the rest of the episode here. Father tells Hunter and Tempest about number 7, but they start to hear a cry, and now they have a plan. Okay, we're going to go into this. We see the creature on 3. We're going to kill it. 3, 2, 1. We see Tempest stops them from doing so. And again, this scene here was very weird to see. The creature has baby Tempest, and it is the title of this episode is called Feeding. It is now feeding on the creature is allowing the baby to breastfeed. And again, just the the symbolizing of the people eating from the tree, and now this baby eating from this creature mother. And we hear Tempest, which I feel kind of weird about this, because just last week I felt so bad for her losing her child, and now in this week's episode she goes back to her, I can't look at the baby, it reminds me of its father. I get all that, right? But narratively speaking, it's just like I can't go back and forth. It's like, can you be a mother to this child? As she tells Father and Hunter, let the baby stay with this creature. Maybe it belongs to this creature. The creature's protecting it. It's going to be a better mother than me. It loves it more than I do. And I'm like, what kind of mother? Again, I get what she's saying. The father, we all know who the father was, the terrible, despicable person from season 1 with the helmet on. But still, it's not the baby's fault. Why would you allow this baby to stay with this creature, which I guess metaphorically kind of speaks to why would you allow an android to raise human children, whatever. But still, Tempest, not a good decision. Mother of the Year is definitely not you. Hunter ultimately makes a decision. He goes back into the cave and ultimately kills the creature. He starts to hand the baby to Tempest, and she ultimately walks away from its baby, who you were just crying for and willing to die for, and now you change? I don't know if I like that writing. I'm not a fan of Tempest's decision. Let me know what you all thought about that in the comment section as we move on. Campion and Vrille have a plan to lead the serpent away from the others, but let's check back in with Mother. And in a very surprising fashion, Marcus wants to help her, which shocked the hell out of me, as we see Mother awakes and she wants to know why you're saving me. And they get into the conversation about why she can't kill the serpent. She informs him that this was number 7. This is my child. And they have a conversation about, okay, I can't inherently in my system hurt my children. So then the conversation gets brought into, well, grandmother, she can maybe reboot me and get me back into, not having that system where I can't harm my children, which I think might backfire on her maybe in the finale or in season 3, which I hope we get. But I love that it's connecting back to grandmother. As we go back into the tables have now turned. The last time Marcus was here, he was put into captive, but now he's being protected by Mother. Mother and grandmother actually have the conversation I've been waiting for, as grandmother tells Mother that they are indeed built by the same humans who are connected to the relic that Marcus found a couple weeks ago. She tells Mother that they were the ones that fought against the believers, and her goal is to assure that humanity continues to be safe and be protected. That is the goals of the androids. As we see, Mother kind of sums up what's going on, that Saul creating this tree and having the serpent consume it, destroy this planet. But the big question at hand is why, right? It's going back to what happened thousands of years ago. The de-evolution of human and becoming these creatures, becoming these things that we've seen on Kepler 22 is starting to all kind of make sense. As we kind of get into the conversation here, the jealousy of Campion shows the serpent has emotions very similar to Mother, as Mother is given the suggestion by grandmother, maybe you should take my veil to block off your emotions to ultimately take down your child. Number 7, this new evolved serpent. I'm loving all the stuff here that we're getting with Mother and grandmother, and I would love to see Mother and grandmother versus this new evolved serpent. That would be an awesome scene. But as we wrap up the episode, we see Campion and Vrille as they're on the trail of the serpent, but something is wrong with Vrille. Her systems are coming to go offline. She leaves Campion the plan to stop it, but unfortunately, we lose her. I think they can find a way to reboot her or to get her back in the system, but right now we're under the assumption that she is dead. We can trust her, okay, Holly? I know she killed you know, your crew a couple weeks ago, which again, that was my favorite scene of this season, but I think it's safe to say she has good intentions. She's trying to redeem herself in a certain extent, right? She's trying to be a good person. Again, we know the androids, their job is to assure that humanity moves on, they protect them, and she ultimately did that with this plan to hopefully take out this new evolved power-up serpent. Good episode. Again, there were some moments I still can't wrap my mind around the back and forth, the emotional tug and pull that we're getting with Tempest. Does she want to be a mother? Does she not want to be a mother? But the big question at hand is, are we seeing the rinse, recycle, repeat that would happen 1,000 years ago? Create this tree, create this serpent. They eat from the tree and they are de-evolved to the creatures that we know from Kepler 22. Is that happening again? Is all the characters that have eaten from the tree, Paul, Marcus, people, are they going to de-evolve in next week's finale? Is there some way to reverse from them eating from the tree, or is it too little too late? I can't wait to find out. Again, I really enjoyed a lot of the aspects from this episode. I didn't love it as much as 5 and 6, but I think it's a great episode to set up what I'm hoping to be a fantastic finale. But hey, that's just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments. Your pros, your cons, favorite moments, least favorite moments, Easter eggs. What were some deeper meanings you took away from this episode? The biblical undertones. Let's talk about it all in the comments. And of course, what will we see in next week's finale? Will we see grandmother and mother against the serpent? Let's have that happen. Let's talk about it in the comment section. If you stuck around to this point in the review, I appreciate every single one of you all. Before you leave, make sure to like the video, share the video, comment below, and of course, come and subscribe to this community. It's so amazing. We talk movies, we talk TV shows, we have live streams, and I want you all to be a part of it. So make sure you're subscribed and you're hitting that notification bell. Hope you enjoyed this review. Hope you're staying safe. As you all can see on the screen now, subscribe to my channel, check out my other content, and we'll catch you all on the next video.